our chat, and thank you so much for carving out the time to join us today. And with that, I think we'll get going. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our 4th annual National Fentanyl Awareness Day. My name is Laura Didier, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, which is going to focus on fentanyl prevention education. As awareness of the fentanyl crisis is rising, it is important to move beyond awareness and into action. So in our 1 hour together today, we're going to start with a 20-minute student-facing film. It's a fentanyl education film. It's appropriate for middle school and up, and it's now available to schools and educators. And we're going to follow that with a panel discussion with 3 esteemed educators that we've asked to join us today. And what they're going to speak on is how this landscape has changed, why prevention education is needed now more than ever, the work that each of them are doing to keep our youth safe, how this student film can be leveraged in a classroom and throughout a school district, and ways that we can involve students and support them in being peer educators on this topic. So today it is our goal to arm you with tools and resources that you can then bring into your own schools and communities. And with that, we are all going to turn off our cameras and our microphones and let you watch our 20-minute film.
I took a pill in Ibiza. Popping pills is all we know. Cocaine, please, Johnny, make it go away. I get drugs for the right price, yeah. I just came here to the party for the drugs.
The first time you just hear it, and you don't really think about it, but then you start to realize like a lot of songs, they're influencing people. It's like, oh, look, this is cool, this is fun.
For music, whenever like drugs are being mentioned, all my friends, they would like sing along and they would be like, yeah, I'm so cool.
Yeah, for me it was middle school, I think. My parents just always telling me like, don't do drugs, and it kind of went over my head and I was like, yeah, I won't do drugs. And then you see like a friend at a party, for example, they post it on their Snapchat story. You're like, okay, that's the norm, that's what I should be doing. I should be drinking, I should be smoking, or doing drugs at the party or something.
Hi everyone, my name is Ed Ternan, and I'm the co-founder with my wife Mary of Song for Charlie. Mary and I founded our organization after losing our youngest son to a counterfeit pill made of fentanyl in 2020. Since that time, Mary and I have traveled around the country talking to groups like yours to educate young people about the new risks of counterfeit prescription pills made of this potent synthetic opioid called fentanyl. I'm going to start from the end. I'm going to give you the punchline first. What you need to take away from my presentation today is that the supply of pills on the street or online, street drugs essentially, has been completely flooded by these counterfeit prescription pills that are made with fentanyl. These pills are made to look just like medicines that you probably are familiar with, like say oxycodone that you might get for wisdom teeth or an injury, or Xanax that some people take for anxiety, but they're counterfeit and they're made with a very potent opioid called fentanyl. And this is putting young people like you, your generation, at a higher risk of overdose and death than ever before. The takeaway here is that it's really dangerous these days to ever take any pill that doesn't come from your doctor through a pharmacy. Our son, Charlie, was a 22-year-old college senior, just about to graduate. Charlie had had a back surgery about a year and a half before. He was having a little bit of pain, and he was killing some time waiting for a job interview on the phone. And so on a Thursday afternoon, he and a friend went online and got what they thought was a Percocet, which is a medication Charlie knew about. He knew what it would do to him, and at some point that day, he took it as prescribed. He took 1 tablet. But that pill that he took was not a real Percocet. It was one of these counterfeit pills that we've nicknamed Fentanyls. And Charlie died very quickly, in about 15 minutes after taking that pill, is what the doctors tell us. And Charlie's not the only one. We've been losing young people, high school and college age Americans, for the last several years, all across the country. Kids from all walks of life, all ethnic groups and socioeconomic groups. It really doesn't discriminate, this problem. Young people like you are being deceived to death by taking these counterfeits when they think they're taking a legitimate medication.
Can you guys tell me which one of these pills for each set, on the right or the left, which ones are fake and which ones are the real ones from the pharmacy?
They look exactly the same.
I guess it would just be like the darker one is the real one.
Yeah, they look very similar.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Some might be from the pharmacy just because it has like an ID number. Yeah, I can't even tell.
It's actually the ones on the right are the real ones and the ones on the left are the fake ones.
Wow.
So these are not the same Xanax or Adderall or Percocet that you would get from your pharmacist or your doctor.
The DEA can't even tell the difference. These pills are so well made in terms of the markings. They look and feel real. So don't be deceived if it looks like something you've had before.
A local teenager dead from a suspected fentanyl overdose.
He lost 2 students to overdoses just in the past 2 months.
Her 17-year-old daughter is the latest local high school student to die of an accidental fentanyl.
Dead after taking pills laced with
Two
fentanyl.
sons died from fentanyl poisoning.
In just one day, there were more than a dozen drug overdoses and 6
Fentanyl
deaths.
can be up to 50 times stronger than heroin.
We're at a point right now in the United States where each week the equivalent to a classroom of high school students dies of overdose across the country. This is truly unprecedented.
Let's back up and take a look at how this is affecting you and your friends. What you see here is a graph that shows along the vertical axis the percentage of a given substance that was found in a toxicology report. So when someone died from an overdose, that's the percentage of times that a particular substance was found. And along the bottom, it has the ages. Now, what you can see from this chart is that if you were in, say, high school, 15, 16 years old, and you died of a drug overdose in 2012, most likely what was found in your system was prescription drugs, prescription opioids. We've all heard of the opioid crisis. 5 years later, in 2017, you can see what happened. Fentanyl started coming into the drug supply, initially in the heroin supply. Dealers started cutting it into their heroin, and they were not informing their customers. So you had people starting to die of fentanyl overdoses in 2017, and a lot of them were people who have been using drugs for a while and they're dependent now. All of a sudden they're getting something they didn't expect and they're dying from it. By 2022, fentanyl and the counterfeit pills had just taken over the landscape. And look at the impact on your age group. Now, by 2022, if you're in high school and you died of an overdose, about over 80% of the time, the cause was fentanyl. The problem isn't that more young people are using drugs. As this chart shows, the initiation of harder drugs, excluding things like alcohol and cannabis, has actually been on the decline steadily for decades. Now, at the same time, in the last few years, people in your age group have been dying at record numbers. That's the yellow line that you see on the chart. So the problem is not that your behaviors have changed, it's that the drug landscape has changed. So when I was growing up, I was taught about drugs, and it was described in terms of kind of a pathway or a journey where if I tried some things and I got off on the wrong track, I might one day become addicted and maybe accidentally overdose on my drug of choice. But for you, these days, the drug landscape is more like a minefield where your first or second step out there could be your last.
What do you guys know about fentanyl?
I haven't really heard about it much.
I know it's super dangerous, like tiny dosages can kill you.
My sister, she had someone that went to her school. They took something laced with fentanyl and she overdosed, but it just sounds like you don't know what you're taking at all.
Fentanyl is actually a medicine. It's a legitimate medication. It was developed in the late 50s, early 60s. It's in the opioid family of medications. So opioids include things like from the least potent to the most potent, like codeine for a sore throat or a cough, oxycodone for wisdom teeth and pain relief, morphine you would get in the hospital around surgery, heroin, which is the illegal version, right, of an opioid, and fentanyl, which is the most potent, 50 times more potent than heroin. Now, it's used legitimately in hospitals pretty much every day, and it's administered in very small doses over time. And while that's happening, you're being monitored by doctors and nurses, and you're hooked up to all kinds of equipment to make sure that you don't go into respiratory arrest. Fentanyl is a synthetic product. It doesn't come from the earth, it doesn't come from a plant. So you don't need to grow anything or process plants or own land in order to produce it. As a result, it's not that hard to mix up. This is why you guys are faced with this new risk. You've got this product that has two elements that illegal drug traffickers really like. It's really strong and it's really cheap. And so that's why they're using it in the illegal pills and powders that they're selling on the street. The difference between pharmaceutical grade fentanyl and illicit fentanyl is that the first is made by pharmaceutical companies in very clean environments by chemists. The illicit version is mixed up in unsanitary labs, often in dirty garages and basements or even outside. So you've got a really potent product being sloppily mixed, pressed into pills, marked to look like a medicine that you think you recognize, and then sold to you online, misrepresented. The DEA says that only about 2 milligrams of fentanyl powder could be potentially lethal, especially to someone who's not used to taking opioids and has no tolerance. Now, how many pills out there contain 2 milligrams? Well, when the DEA seizes illegal pills from the street, they run them through their labs and they test them. Recently, they've discovered that 5 out of 10 of the illegal pills they've seized contain 2 milligrams or more of fentanyl, which could be lethal depending on someone's tolerance. If you're getting a pill that doesn't come from your doctor through a pharmacy, number one, it's fake. Number two, it probably contains fentanyl. And number three, it very well may contain enough fentanyl to kill you or your friends the very first time.
So I'm going to show you guys what 2 milligrams of fentanyl looks like. Imagine this pile of sugar is fentanyl. And that, on the tip of that pencil, is the 2 milligrams it would take to kill somebody.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's all it takes.
Super shocking.
Did you guys think it was going to be that small?
No.
Maybe 2 milligrams you thought looks like that whole pile, but it actually is enough to fit on the tip of a pencil.
Wow. Yeah, and that's super easy to hide too.
Yeah, so it could get mixed in with a pill, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or even other types of drugs.
Illegal sellers of counterfeit pills understand that your generation is familiar with things like oxycodone and Xanax and Percocet. You kind of grew up with them. Now, you can take it from me, when we first started doing this work, we would talk to experts and they would say, be careful about telling young people that all pills they see online are fake, because some of them might be real, and then you'll lose credibility. Well, today, no experts give us that warning anymore. The pill supplies have been completely overrun by counterfeits. You won't find the relief you're looking for from someone you meet on social media, which is what Charlie did. And you won't find legitimate pills online.
How would you check for fentanyl?
The only way to test a pill for fentanyl is you have to completely crush it up. So if somebody hands you a whole pill and says it's tested, it's definitely not.
You're saying like one side of the pill could be fentanyl and then the other side could be just normal?
Yeah.
You may hear about test strips and being able to test drugs for fentanyl. The challenge, especially with pills, is the fact that the dosing is so sloppy. There's this idea of a chocolate chip cookie, where the fentanyl, like the chocolate chips in a cookie, is not evenly distributed in the tablet. So if you shave off a little bit of a tablet and test that, and it comes back negative for fentanyl, you can't know for sure that fentanyl is not in the rest of the tablet. If you test one pill out of a batch, like a baggie of 10 or something like that, and it tests negative, that does not mean the rest of the pills are negative. There could be fentanyl in it, because inconsistent dosing is a big part of the problem. A bit of good news is there's actually an antidote to an opioid overdose called naloxone. And in this age of fentanyl, it's really important that you learn a couple of things. First of all, how do you recognize what an opioid overdose looks like? And then how do you respond to that and administer naloxone?
There are 3 big signs of an opioid overdose. First one being slow to no breathing. To check if they're breathing, all you have to do is put your hand on their chest and feel for the rise and fall, right? If they're not breathing, no matter what caused it, that's a medical emergency, right? So we want to call for help. Unconsciousness is also one of the big 3 signs. And if you really want to check if someone's unconscious, the best way to do that is called a trap pinch. So the muscle in between your neck and your shoulder, it's your trapezius, pinch as hard as you can. And if you imagine doing that to someone else as hard as you can, it's gonna hurt. But if somebody's overdosing on a pain medication, do you think they're gonna feel that?
No.
And then the telltale sign of an opioid overdose, so it could be fentanyl or any other opioid, is pinpoint pupils. All you need is your smartphone.
Flashlight.
Yeah, exactly. You pull out your flashlight and you're gonna have to pull their eyelid open, right? Because if they're unconscious, but you just shine the light in their eye for a couple seconds and then you move it away. When you move it away, it expands, yeah. If someone's overdosing and they have pinpoint pupils, it's gonna stay the exact same size, right? It's gonna stay very tiny. So that's when you know, okay, this is definitely an opioid overdose. And we wanna call 911 and say we are witnessing a medical emergency. The antidote for an overdose is called naloxone. Narcan is a brand name, but any naloxone will do. So it's super easy to use, just like any other nose spray, right? This one's actually even easier because it's just 1 dose all in one. All you have to do is put it in their nose and press the button 1 time, and that's the whole dose. And then you can't use it again. This is now trash. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna check your phone or your watch, see what time it is, and you're gonna wanna clock 2 minutes. Within those 2 minutes, you'll see them, even if they're not breathing, go and come back.
So after they take Narcan and once they become sober, how long do they stay sober for?
Naloxone lasts for between 30 and 90 minutes. So the naloxone will wear off, and then once the naloxone's out, the opioid can get back in, so someone can re-overdose.
What would happen if you used Narcan to somebody who didn't overdose?
It doesn't have side effects. Even if I gave it to myself right now, I wouldn't feel any different.
How do you get access to that nose spray?
It's now available over the counter. So you can just go to a pharmacy and ask for it. You can order it online. The doses are small enough they can fit in your pocket, and so you can carry it with you. And so if something ever happens, you can actually step in because you had the nose spray with you and can help save their life.
Yeah.
Your generation is under a lot of stress. You have a lot of information coming at you from all angles and pressures, but you need to learn how to deal with those without turning to street pills. Things like fresh air, good night's sleep, prayer, meditation, exercise, they're keys to keeping you in a good mindset. Now, if you need medications and they're prescribed by your doctor, there's no shame in that at all. What you can't do anymore is go outside of normal channels to seek relief, because that sometimes impulsive decision can lead to death.
It's okay to ask for help, but I think that's one of the hard parts, realizing that you need help. Like, I'm a human, I need another human to be there with me. You can talk to a teacher, you can also talk to your counselors, talk to your parents. So you just have to know there's always resources and other people that like really truly care about you.
I was gonna say, I think also like self-reflection, like if you don't feel healthy, then most of the time you're not healthy. Like going on a run, that makes me feel good.
This is what I want you to walk away with. There are no real pills online or on the street anymore. They're all counterfeit. At Song for Charlie, we've come up with a 3-word slogan that we hope you'll remember: no random pills. It's simple, and we want to make that as automatic as what you know about crossing the street. Look both ways. 3 words, easy to remember: no random pills. Only take medications that come from your doctor. Don't trust it whether it comes from your friend or someone you see online, no matter what they tell you, even if they tell you it's tested, not true. Also, learn how to recognize and respond to an opioid overdose. The good news is we have an antidote for an opioid overdose. Learn about how to administer naloxone and to help your friends if you come across someone in distress. Now, you're smarter than Charlie was. You know way more about this issue than he did and those other kids who passed away. And armed with that information, you can keep yourself safe and you can actually make a major dent in what is essentially a national crisis.
I think it's way better to be informed than to be blind and like oblivious to whatever is out there.
To not really trust everything that you're handed, to just like be aware, not scared, but just be careful.
If a friend takes a pill, then I'm just gonna keep a close eye on them. I'm gonna be carrying Narcan around now. Knowing this, makes me feel like I have to share it.
You didn't start this problem, but you can be part of the solution. And we hope you'll join us and get involved and learn as much as you can about the issue, follow Song for Charlie, and help us spread the word.
So now I'd like to invite all of our panelists to open back up their cameras and microphones, and we'll start with the discussion portion of our presentation. As I mentioned, I am Laura Didier, and I'm the outreach coordinator for the family nonprofit Song for Charlie. In 2020, I lost my own child, my 17-year-old son, to a counterfeit pill made of fentanyl when he was a high school senior. And so that is what drives me, my passion for primary prevention education. I've had the honor of connecting with our esteemed panel, each of our panelists, in the work that we do. I've personally learned so much from each of them, and I know that you're going to learn a lot here today as well. So I'm going to read their introductions. They have very impressive bios. I know you're going to see how much incredible work they've been doing in this space. Our first panelist is Armand Lorich King, and he is a visionary leader. He's the author of several books, including Stop Fentanyl, The Parent and School Guide to Understanding and Addressing the Fentanyl Epidemic with Their Youth. He's a nonprofit founder whose journey from street life to global impact has made him a powerful voice for change. He is the founder of Walk With Me Impact, and in that role, he delivers life-changing mentorship, education, and training rooted in lived experience, transforming systems and uplifting communities worldwide. He is a tireless youth advocate and outspoken leader in fentanyl awareness and prevention. Armand turns personal tragedy into purpose, ensuring that the next generation is equipped, empowered, and protected. We're so grateful that you're here, Armand. And we also have Christopher Pepper, who is, he writes the best-selling Substack newsletter, Teen Health Today. He's the co-author of the book, Talk to Your Boys, which will be out in September. We're excited to see that come out. He's an award-winning health educator in the San Francisco Unified School District, where he's taught thousands of students about topics like sleep, mental health, and substance use. His work has been featured in the New York Times, the San Francisco Chronicle, USA Today, Educator, and on National Public Radio. And last but certainly not least, we are joined by Amelia Whalen, who is a licensed clinical social worker who has been working in public education for the last 10 years and was a county social worker prior to entering education. She currently oversees the Los Lomas High School Wellness Center, and in this role, she provides clinical support to students and coordinates student programming around wellness-related topics. She's developed and implemented the school's initiative targeting fentanyl awareness and education. She's highly dedicated to ensuring student safety and understanding surrounding the topics of fentanyl and Narcan. Amelia believes in the power of student-led activism and has emphasized this aspect in her work around the topic. And she has joined us in doing that Song for Charlie and accomplishing that goal with students. So welcome all of you. We are so grateful that you are here today to help us spread awareness and education. So I'm going to start with you, Armand, and I'm going to ask you this. You've worked in this space for a while, and what is different about this? What is different with fentanyl in the mix? What have you seen? How has that changed your prevention work? Why is prevention work needed now more than ever? And what impact are you seeing from the work that you do?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all, and thank you for having this dialogue. And yeah, it's a very extremely important topic, and it hits me close to home. You know, I was born in the 80s and around a lot of drugs, and just in my family, having people that were battling addictions, and they battled the addictions. They recovered. Some didn't necessarily, they didn't overdose, but they're still battling those addictions. But many family members, multiple, lived long enough to grow out of it, recover, and now living prosperous lives. The difference between then and now is you don't get that chance. You know, literally, it's not just a catchy phrase, one pill can kill. Literally, one pill, one sniff can kill you. One puff can kill you. And I've never seen this before, like in my lifetime. And like I said, I grew up in and around drugs. And so even in my advocacy work for communities harmed by drugs, it wasn't until 2017 when my first best friend, William Wagner, his life was lost to fentanyl. When I first became aware of it, had no idea what it was told it was a new form of heroin. And I didn't hear about it again until 2020. But from 2020 until now, I have lost 33 loved ones, friends and associates, close people to fentanyl. So yeah, it's a real different time. I've never been a fan of the just say no or just say no to drugs and the dare from the past. That it didn't resonate with me. You know, to be honest, the dare and the just say no made me want to go do a substance when I was a kid. And now it's more than ever, just say no. Like it has to be pushed because that one time you may not even be a regular user. And that one time you choose to succumb to peer pressure or just trying to release or whatever it is, and you don't make it anymore. So yeah, that's a major difference. But Russian roulette is what we're playing right now, not experimenting. Before it was experimental. Now I'm literally putting a gun to my head and taking a chance. Not worth it.
Right. And when you're sharing your messages and you're working with youth, I know you mentor a lot of youth. How are they responding to it? What kinds of techniques do you employ that you find are effective in getting the message across to young people?
Oh, they respond extremely well. And a couple of the tactics are the people that I present with come from lived experience. So when we speak to them, it's not of what we heard or what we learned about. It's no, we've experienced this. We've lost lives. I show them names of 15-year-old kid that's on my arm that I just lost a friend. You know, one of my lead instructors that comes with me, he suffered a drug-induced stroke a few years ago, and he's partially paralyzed. He was never supposed to walk again. So when he speaks, the kids are totally observant and listening. And then one of the exercises that we do is using M&Ms. You know, they have many different forms of M&Ms, but look similar. And we'll go around and have them choose an M&M. We pick identical ones. One may have like a cookie crunch inside, and we'll have them choose. And oftentimes we do this at the end of our presentation, and many kids, they'll be like, I don't even want to try. After what you just told me, I don't even want to try that M&M. And that's the answer we want. But majority of them, they will try the M&M for the experiment. And then they will have them all eat the M&M, choose the one without the cookie crunch. And the ones that get it, we'll have them stand up and then like physically see. Now look at your peers. That 10, 15 people that just stood up, that was your friend gone, and you couldn't tell. And we tell them, trust me, the drug dealer is not going to come up to you and say, pick the one without fentanyl in it. That's not going to happen. And oftentimes the drug dealer has no clue themselves. Many people that I've been around or known that have OD'd, that bought it from someone they trusted, someone they knew, and that drug dealer had no intention on killing their customer either. It's been passed on so many times. By the time it gets to the local drug dealer, I'll say, they have no idea what they're selling. So it's just like I said, it's a different time than it ever was, and it's extremely dangerous.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that in your experiences of working with these young people and talking with them about your experience and kind of mentoring them in this space, are you seeing behaviors and attitudes change to more safer choices once these young people that you've worked with are getting exposed to the information? I mean, are you feeling hopeful?
I am feeling hopeful, and honestly, I am personally I'm seeing a decrease in the overdoses that was happening, and I owe it a lot to the awareness push that's been happening, and then not just even the awareness from folks like us, but people. So many people died. It's hard to find someone who doesn't know somebody who has died from fentanyl. So that in itself has scared a lot of people, although it is still happening, but it's not as frequent as it was for years there. In my personal area and people that I know.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing, I didn't prep you for this question, but I would love for you to share this because we've gotten to know each other a little bit better. And one thing that I really thought was so wonderful that you're doing is finding creative ways to get this information out there. So if you just could briefly talk a little bit about your comics and that creative way of getting information out on fentanyl.
Yeah, we got to be creative. The message may be the same, but it does matter. Even like myself, as I'm getting older, I have to bring younger presenters when I'm talking to an elementary or middle school. And so creative ways being that I've created comic books that we've put out in dispensaries, smoke shops, liquor stores, where the comic is geared towards an older audience, but infused in there is awareness on mental health, behavioral health, fentanyl awareness in there. It's something that someone would like to laugh at, look at, and then it will hit them with the message. So we do that. We have utilizing social media influencers in their pages to be able to put the awareness out there. In my city of San Diego, we have a skateboard hip hop event on the 21st. We're advertising to the kids as a cool skateboard trick contest, hip hop, bringing all the popular rappers of current time there, but really all the awareness and the preventionists and the resources are going to be there. Just being creative, because oftentimes us adults, we think kids, they don't want to come to our resource fair. Like no kid, especially the kids I'm targeting, they could care less about your resource fair. So it's disguise it. Yes, it's a resource fair, but no, bring the fun, bring the activities to attract the youth, and then we give them the message. Then we hug them because we want them to live. So expecting them to just do stuff my 43-year-old butt wants to do is not working, So the goal is to get the message to them. So disguise it, but get it to them. Just a few methods.
Yeah, thank you, Armand. And as we're going along, folks, if you have questions for any of our presenters, feel free to drop them in the chat. We're hopefully going to have a few minutes at the end where if there's anything that wasn't addressed or any follow-up, you can get that from our presenters. But I'm gonna move on to Christopher now. Christopher, you have worked closely with Song for Charlie on these resources for schools, and including this curriculum guide that accompanies the film that everyone just watched. So if you could please describe, what can teachers expect if they go, we've got the resource in the chat that people can link on to request the film. What can educators expect to receive when they get those materials, and how they can implement this into a fully formed, ready to go curriculum and for their classroom?
Thank you so much for asking, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. And thank you to everyone who's here to hear this message. We worked on this video and the idea was having something that was ready to go for classrooms, because this is new information for a lot of people. And most of the health education materials, even if they were carefully prepared, just are not up to date on this issue. So this was an attempt to really get up-to-date information into as many classrooms as possible. And Song for Charlie created this great video. It's about 20 minutes long, the video you just saw. And we were talking about how do we make this into something that can fill up a whole day in a classroom? What kind of activities can we move along with, can we provide along with it to make it something that can really be used as a learning tool? So there is a lesson plan fully packaged up to go along with this. All of that is available for you for free. And it starts out with just a basic question as people come in about what do you know about fentanyl, kind of setting the scene and establishing a basic conversation about it. Then pretty soon you show the movie and then facilitate a discussion about it. So there's some guiding questions for the teacher to ask to students. There's some suggested answers to those questions so that teachers aren't on their own with trying to make up the answers. Those are provided. But asking things like, why do you think so many young people may not be aware of the risks associated with fentanyl and counterfeit prescription pills? Or what are the signs of an opioid overdose? So asking those questions, and actually while people watch the film, there is a note-taking tool provided. So I know when I'm teaching and I'm showing media to students, I don't like to leave it on for super long. I like to kind of pause, make sure that they're paying attention. If there's words that are used, because some of the words around substance use are not everybody knows those words. So you want to check and make sure everybody's understanding those. So there's actually a note-taking tool to use as you watch the film. And then there's some activities to do, depending on how much time you have after you're done with watching the movie. There's a cool activity where you make a social media post or a poster, kind of sharing what you just learned with your school or your classroom or the community at large. There's also a more kind of sciencey demonstration where people actually simulate what a lethal dose of fentanyl looks like, kind of building off that demonstration with the pencil and the few grams of powder on the end of it. So a way to reinforce that with a real life demonstration, and the instructions for both of those are provided. And then at the end, just reinforcing with teacher talk some of the key points about never taking pills that don't come from a pharmacist that aren't prescribed for you, and reinforcing that you can't tell if a pill is fake just by looking at it. All those kind of things that are emphasized in the video, but coming from the voice of the teacher, kind of reinforcing those at the end. So that lesson plan is available. Hopefully it's a useful tool for you as you bring this into schools. And I would love it if you share it with people who may need it. I think it could fit in a health classroom, but in schools that don't have health class or don't have a class where this fits, I think it can easily slide into a science class, a PE class, even a social studies or advisory course would be a place for that.
Great. And when you're doing lessons around fentanyl, what reaction are you getting from students? Do you find that students know much about it, or it's really kind of brand new to them, or maybe they thought they knew some things, but they really had the wrong idea about how this crisis is manifesting? I mean, kind of what are you getting from the students?
Yeah, I think this is new information for a lot of people. If people know anything about fentanyl, they usually are associating it with people who are using fentanyl intentionally, and often that's associated with people who are unhoused or having major substance use disorder issues. This idea of taking fentanyl by accident when people are getting a counterfeit pill is new for a lot of young people. They just don't understand that. And just like Armand was saying, like, it's important to me as an educator to be truthful and to not exaggerate or lie to students. And I think some substance use programs in the past have leaned a little far in that direction of like, let's make everything really scary. And I don't like that tactic, but the reality is that with fentanyl in the mix, the drug supply right now has a different element that just wasn't there before. And it is factual to say that, and to say that someone can take a pill and die, that is just truthful. It is not exaggerating. And we need to make sure that we are letting young people know that.
Well, thank you so much, Christopher, for working with us on that. And, we're excited that we can share this with other educators that they can take into their classrooms and school districts. And now I'd like to bring Amelia into the conversation. Amelia and all of us on the panel and you watching us here, we know how much young people listen to their peers, right? It's a very important relationship, this peer-to-peer relationship. So could you please share with us the work that you're doing with students to help elevate them into being peer educators, supporting their work, the kinds of things you've done at Los Lomas, and the response that you're seeing from the student body?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. Thank you for having me be part of this, by the way. I'm very flattered to be included with this incredible group of people. In our school, we've taken a multi-tiered approach to addressing the fentanyl issue in terms of educating students about it, and also Narcan. We've looked at things on the staff level, parent level, also on a higher level administration piece of it, but really where the focus has been our youth. We've been looking at having a peer-led kind of group from the very beginning, and really trying to empower and educate our kids so they can get the word out and have the power behind the message and really be able to reach their peers. We've been working on this for like the last 5 years or so. Really what we've been doing is finding groups of students, training them pretty intensively around the topic, and then really getting their feedback and their ideas in terms of how we can most effectively reach other students at our school and create a culture of awareness and also activism around the issue. We've drawn upon the Song for Charlie curriculum in this effort, which has been something invaluable to us. Christopher spoke a bit about curriculum that he's developed. We've utilized what's been developed more recently for peer educators, where it's the documentary you saw along with the peer education discussion guide, which what we found was very, very well received. The students who delivered it felt really great about the curriculum. Students who attended, the information was very accessible to them. What I really appreciated was the balance between the information, the human component, but also eliciting their critical thinking around the issue. The discussion guide does a great job having them look at like their own culture as teens, their relationships with adults, and really practical ways that they can keep themselves safe. And also what we found from that is it served as a pretty organic recruiting mechanism for more kids to become activists on campus around educating other youth around this issue. We've today for Fentanyl Awareness Day, our students did a whole outreach activity. They continue to do activities like this throughout the years. We've found that there's enough interest and engagement and concern specifically around this aspect of student health that what started as a component of a larger peer health educator group has become its own entity, where now we have a group of students dedicated to the Song for Charlie mission, utilizing that curriculum and really ensuring that we continue to have a conversation about this, where we don't put the onus on kids to educate each other, but we empower them to do so.
That's right. No, and I've seen your youth peer educators in action, and it's very impactful. And I would say that another element of it that is really impactful is not just the peer-to-peer education, but when we did a parent night at your campus, and there was a wonderful youth voice there on the panel, watching a different resource that we've produced. And I think it's also really great when these youth can educate the parents, and they can be a part of a parent night or a community outreach town hall type thing, because they're on the front lines, right? They're seeing what the culture is at school, they're seeing what their peers are being exposed to, and they can give that perspective even to parents. So I think it's just really great, and you're doing an amazing work there at Los Lomas. That's for those of you outside of California, that's kind of near San Francisco, Bay Area, if you're outside of our state. So that's great. So I am, again, so grateful to all of you for being here. I wanted to see if there were any questions in the chat. I know I've seen Armand's been doing a great job of answering the questions that have come his way. So let me look down here and see. Well, first of all, let me ask you guys, panelists, was there anything else you'd like to add that maybe we didn't cover in the questions? Anything else that you think would be helpful for our educators that are here watching?
Just because I like to talk. No, so I know you're working on, and I was reached out to by the gentleman, and you're working on some culturally competent material to educate. And yes, we do need to get the information out. There are certain populations of people that need specific language, delivery methods to reach them. And I was actually watching the founder of Song for Charlie on the news today. It just by chance I was sitting somewhere, and it came on, and he was on the news talking about tonight's event, and he was talking about the numbers of disproportionately impacted Black and Latino communities who are skyrocketing in numbers. And there is a very, very strong lack of awareness and conversation that are happening to those communities. And I'm doing my best to get it out. And there are a couple other people that I know. But if we all of us in this space that are doing this are very intentional about creating language that is going to reach and finding credible messengers, lived experience experts to help deliver that message so we can save lives. I'm tired of burying people. And I said I've lost 33, and that's because I stopped counting. Okay. And so, yeah, I just wanted to leave it with that for everybody that's listening, educators in this space. There are nuances to the language that we need to have in the delivery methods to make sure we are reaching all people in a manner that they will digest it.
Right,
Okay,
right,
that's all.
right. No, and
Thanks.
that's so important. And with Song for Charlie, we were really fortunate to enter into a partnership with the California Department of Healthcare Services a few years ago. And with that partnership and grant funding, we were able to put together resources like what you just watched, a resource called The New Drug Talk. That is a film aimed at parents. And we were able to do our first multicultural effort, which is La Nueva Drug Talk, with culturally relevant, sensitive, in the Spanish language resources for our Hispanic families. And we're in the process of putting together our advisory board to do that for the African American community as well. That's what Armand's referencing, is making sure that no communities are getting left behind, that we're getting to all the different types of communities that we can in ways they'll receive the information. And so I'm so glad, Armand, that you brought that up and that you're going to be helping us out with that space, because it's so important, and you're already doing such great work to make that possible in the communities that you're working in. So thank you very much. Let's see. Okay, this is a question, and that I'll throw it out to all of you, but Armand, maybe you want to answer this one as to why the shift to fentanyl. Why are the drug manufacturers, the legal manufacturers, using fentanyl? We get that a lot when we present to students. I don't understand, why would they use this substance if it's so deadly?
Right. So my strong speculation, because no one's ever told me the official word, because it doesn't make any sense if you think about it. You want to keep a client for those drug dealers that are, you don't want to kill off your clientele. But it is people are making fake pills. So they're at the end of the line, there's a really greedy individual or entity, and they're mixing fentanyl in these pills. No chemist, nobody who knows the exacts, and a lot of people are taking these fake pills and not dying. So they're taking these fake pills. It's in coke that's been stepped on. It's in vape pens. They're manufactured vape pens and selling those to kids, and people get that buzz, that high. They come back, but then that one off, which happens to be frequently, but a lot of if we really looked and knew and realized the number of, let's just say, Americans that do drugs, that pop pills, that sniff cocaine, that they're making more money than they're losing. And so, but if, you know, from, again, I'm not in the cartel, but I've heard that they're disciplining people for doing this because it is killing off their business. They are being targeted. So you still have greedy individuals that only see a dollar sign and they're doing this. And because it's not killing everybody. And you know, so that's one. And once again, super on my speculation. And then you do have a population of people who use fentanyl, who have mastered knowing how to use fentanyl. Out of my core friends and the people that I've lost, not one of them was using fentanyl intentionally. It was all fentanyl poisoning, but they were already battling addictions, you know, recreation addiction, post pandemic, post quarantine. People were on using pills, popping pills, using cocaine regularly. Most people not most people, but a lot of people resulted to this. So yeah, I hope I answered the question in the best of my ability. That somebody's greeting down the line, and it's not killing everyone. And our consumption of drugs is so large in the United States of pills, so they're making more money than they're losing.
Right. When I speak with students, it's very similar. Just, you know, that it is business, you know, and at the end of the day, the people that are manufacturing these products and manufacturing fentanyl, they want to make money. And it's so cheap to manufacture as opposed to deriving drugs from a plant-based source that even if a customer or two is lost, their profit margin is so large that it just incentivizes them to continue using, which is why it's so important that this primary prevention and education piece is so strong so that our youth can recognize the dangers and can make, you know, other choices, safer, you know, choices for them. And Amelia, if I could just kind of throw it back to you, you know, with your students and being in the wellness center, are you seeing that students are utilizing wellness centers, you know, more as, you know, as we know that this drug supply is so much more volatile and deadly, are you seeing more students trying to find safer ways to cope?
I would say we have. You know, we had about, so we're a school of 1,600 students, approximately 500 or so came through our space seeking some form of mental health support. Frequently, it can be the result of substance use, either for themselves or a peer. You know, they're often looking for alternative ways to cope, or other ways to access support or express concern about a friend. And that's where we find a lot of our work with parents in terms of connecting kids to supportive services is key. I think an important thing for us as a school in terms of setting the tone with our students has been making it clear to them that to us, this is an issue of student health and well-being, not a disciplinary issue. This is something where we want to extend support and keep them safe and get them what they need to be well. And I think that has helped a lot of the walls kind of fall down in terms of them trusting us as adults on campus to offer support. And I believe that a lot of the intentional educational work we've been doing around fentanyl and naloxone in multiple forms with our students, you know, peer-led. And Laura, we were fortunate enough to have you come to our campus a number of times to speak to our students and parents. I've found that's been a big component as well.
Great. And are you seeing, and maybe if I can't tell if Christopher is here as well or if his camera's off, but are you seeing some shifting behavior from students at once they've had education, once they're more aware, are they more inclined to talk about it? Or are they more inclined to come to the wellness center and maybe seek out support once they've gotten some education around the volatility of what's out there?
Absolutely. I think that the facts and what we're seeing is so overwhelming, kids can't ignore it. And once they see it, they're like, this is legitimately scary. What they're telling us is true. This isn't hyperbolic. And you see behavioral shifts, you see attitude shifts. You know, I'd say like something that I've seen amongst our students and what I've heard is all of a sudden getting substances on social media, it is looked at very differently after receiving a lot of this education. Like the hazards around it, they're well aware, and we're seeing a change in behavior there, and also in terms of what substances they seem to be utilizing.
And also, either of you, Armand or Amelia, jump in on this one. Have you found that there are ways that it can be a scary topic, a heavy topic, ways that you can infuse hope and positivity and maybe a message of empowerment around this? Either one of you, feel free. Amelia, if you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. What I've found is providing opportunities for them to be involved in terms of responding to the issue. So for us, having a very established, peer-driven program, thank you to Song for Charlie for so much of the curriculum you provide them with. It empowers them to change their behavior and spread the word and take action. Because what I've seen is when kids receive this information, they want to do something with it. They don't just want to sit with it. So providing them with that opportunity has been key.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that as well, Armand?
I do, and I wanted to say it's an extremely heavy topic, and when we come in and when I present, we're given it. What did it say? No gloves are on. Middle school, high school, we're giving it to you hard. We're giving it to you. We're talking about death, and a lot of the communities I'm working with in this crisis has been so extreme. There's kids normally in these classrooms who have lost someone, who have a parent or loved one battling an addiction. So we're hitting them hard in places. So the motivation, the inspiration has to be infused, or we'll just be wrecking these kids' lives with all this death and drugs. So constantly, and empowerment, like within the presentation, or now you are empowered to go tell your friends, go help save a life, and also letting them know if they are dealing with this in their home, that it is not their fault, that they can do better, they will do better. Like, so the constant, yes, we're giving you this heavy information, but it has to be mixed in with motivation, love, and empowerment for them to live the best life they can, regardless of what's going on around them. So, because we can come in on a Friday, give them this heavy information and say goodbye for the weekend. And especially if they're in California, we make sure we let them know that, at 12 years old, you can seek mental health treatment there without an adult's consent or an adult finding out. California law, making sure they know that, because a lot of the people going after and seeking drugs is based on root causes of mental health, of depression, of all of these things that a counselor, a mentor could help them through. So all of that infused in this heavy fentanyl death conversation, because we do not want to leave these kids not empowered, not inspired to do better.
Right. So I'm so grateful for all of you guys carving out this time for us today. Armand, Amelia, Christopher, you are all doing such incredible work in your communities and beyond. So we're grateful that you were able to come. For those of you that took that pre-survey, please, if you could do the post-survey as well, you can scan the QR code there. It'll help us, gauge if this was impactful for you, if you learned something. You can connect with us at Song for Charlie. I believe most of our presenters provided their contact information. So if you want to connect directly with them to learn more about what they're doing or ways you could partner with them directly, please reach out to them. They've made themselves completely available. So thank you again so much for coming and joining us today. And again, our panelists, you're all amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much.